Okay, so it's 7 o'clock, so we'll call to order the Town of Crossfield Regular Council meeting Tuesday, September 7th, 2021. The agenda is in front of you. Any additions or deletions from the agenda? If not, can I have a motion to accept?
So moved, Mayor.
Okay, all in favor? That's carried. We have attached the minutes of the July 20th regular council meetings, August 10th special council meeting, and August 17th special council meeting. Any errors or omissions? If not, can I have a motion to accept the minutes?
Also move.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and those are all carried. Business arising from the minutes, July 6th, the snow clearing sidewalk, snow clearing for Railway Street. Jack, do you want to take front and center and speak to that?
Yeah. So yeah, bringing up the snow clearing policy. The last council meeting on February 5th, 2019, council administration brought forth a report concerning the 2019 and 02 road and sidewalk clearing policy to be changed to put the responsibility back onto the business owners and property owners. And the few businesses on Main Street have already taken upon themselves to do it. ATB, Carmen's, Arches, Post Office already pay to get it done. We looked into other communities, and Okotoks, Three Hills, Didsbury, Carstairs, Bicycle all have the business owners do their own sidewalks. We had changed it for that one season because of the construction of railway, just to give them a break. And it was a little challenging for us to get that done. We just don't have enough staff and whatnot to actually do it. So we were trying to get it changed so that we got three options really, to have the business owners take it over, which has its pros and cons, of course, but they can do more of the snow clearing during the day, keep it maintained, as we can't do that. Keep the cost down for themselves, because some businesses only have 20, 30 feet to take care of themselves. And and of course, no extra staff for us to have to put towards that. Option 2 is having a contractor come and do it and take care of everything. There is a bit of a cost that's on the back page. I got an estimate of $183,000 for 5 guys to come in and do it once a day for from October 15th to April 15th. The other proposal is they have a dedicated staff, always comes in, checks it during the day, takes full liability on it for $193,000 per season. Anything after that, it's an extra $3,500 per event and snows. Option 3 is having the town do it, but obviously we're going to have to hire more staff and equipment to actually get it done, because it's going to take some time. Because we got a lot more other things of snow clearing, all the parking lots, everything like that all has to be done at the same time. We just can't maintain Railway Street at the same time. It kind of sounds like I'm rushing through it actually, but yeah. And yeah, you asked us how, is there a way to recoup some of that money? We could probably figure out how to charge it per business, so many meters in front of each business, maybe do it that way, or a flat rate per business, something like that, somehow to recoup some of that money. That it is a fair bit of money to put on all the taxpayers in town. That's up to you guys. Yeah, I think that's about it.
And I know that part of the reason that the town took over trying to clear part of it was the construction. The other concern is those businesses that are those owners that don't clear their sidewalk. Then you end up with basically some cleared, some not, and people trying to get to the businesses having to walk through snow or sidewalks that aren't cleared. So it's almost like we need to make a decision here, but if we put it back on the property owners and the property owners aren't doing it in a timely manner, that we would still need somebody to contract to get out there to do it, whether we adhere to the 24 hours or not. So it's
Yes.
still going to be some piecemeal work if we,
for sure.
hold to that.
But in time, they'll all maybe like start hiring it out, or, the ones that are empty in town that you never see anybody. They need to start looking after their own property.
But
The only way
historically, they haven't, which is part of why we have this issue. So if we're going to ask property owners, like businesses, to do it in 24 hours, then everybody has to do it in 24 hours. Those that don't, we have to be able to have some meat in our policy that then we have a contractor, whatever that cost is going to be, associated right back to the property owner.
Yeah.
That it gets cleared within 24 hours. Otherwise, we're penalizing the people who will clear because we don't have a good policy in place for those who won't.
Yeah.
Yes.
So under the snow clearing policy, the peace officer can enforce those that don't do their own snow removal. And we do have a company on standby that does do snow removal for another 1 or 2 properties on Railway Street. And that cost is charged back to the property owner's taxes. And if there's a different occupier to the property owner, then of course the property owner can charge it back to whoever's renting or occupying their property.
I think that if we do go back to this option, that we will have to do an education program for the businesses and really get the word out there so that they really understand what this looks like and what the consequences are for not plowing the street, so that they're aware of that.
Sidewalk, not street.
Oh, sorry, sidewalk. Yes. So that they're aware of it. And I think, secondly, my other concern is we have new flower beds, we have new grates, we have a whole new downtown.
Yeah.
There's already concern with the snow and snow removal, how people are going to get from the street to the businesses across that sidewalk in some of those areas. How are we as a town going to ensure that our residents can get from the street to the businesses?
Yeah, and that's the thing. All those metal grates have to be hand shoveled.
Yeah.
So you can't put any equipment on it. So wherever they are adjacent to those businesses, they share the of shoveling, basically.
Right. So my question is, like, how will we ensure that our residents can get from the street to the businesses without trying to crawl over a big mound of snow?
Oh, and there's going to be some, because all the flowers are going to have lots of snow on them. Because they're not going to throw it over top the flowers to put it on the road.
And the grates are the responsibility of the town or the adjacent?
That should all
Business.
be on the adjacent business, because that's part of their /walkway to the business.
So my other question would be, where are the businesses supposed to put the snow?
All they can do is put it on the road, and we have to just grade it away when we do it.
So then I think that's part of the education is
Yeah.
you have them throw it on the road and
Yeah,
then you
and
guys will
it's-
come by and clear
Normally, you
it out.
don't ask people to throw it on the road
No.
because they're not allowed, but
Yeah.
they have no other place to put it. So
Right.
can't really blame them for that one.
Right. Meryl?
Administration could help Public Works craft that letter to make sure that the message got out there, that it's clear, as to, how the sidewalk should be cleared so that it can be taken away. So residents have access.
But does our current policy, if the peace officer goes out there, they're not cleared within 24 hours, what does our policy state to get that contractor out there? Because I think historically it used to be they'd get a letter, then they'd have so much time to respond to the letter. Then basically peace officer would go out there and then there would be follow-up. Again, we're penalizing the people that will actually clear as opposed to those that don't. So is our policy tight enough that we can get the contractor out within 24 hours?
Well, normally the first one is a warning, a verbal warning. Second one is written. We can definitely look at the snow clearing policy and I can speak with the peace officer for, next best steps.
Yeah, because I don't think we want to penalize the people that are going to clear.
No.
And let the people that don't clear have longer to clear.
If I may, Mayor,
Yes.
like how many businesses historically, and I'm asking administration and public works, historically, how many businesses are we talking about? A handful, like, there's
That don't do it?
that don't do it. And if they don't do it, they're obviously repeat offenders
Yeah.
that we need to just take maybe some extra care and
For the most part, it was the empty lots. And there was a couple that lagged on doing it, hoping we would come by and do it.
yeah.
But all you got to do is tell them, no, it's up to you.
Yeah.
But there's.
Well, we just stay on top of them.
They're making a stand is what they're doing.
Mhm.
But,
Yeah.
right, no, I don't have to, so I'm going to leave it.
I'm also curious, Meryl, if we can do more than one letter, like I
Oh, it's
think it
gonna
should
be
be
Yeah.
a few throughout the winter, just as reminders.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. We did it the last time when we changed the bylaw and the policy so that the language was the same.
Yeah.
We did, I believe, 3 letters at different times of the year. And the final one was in the fall, just as a follow-up and reminder of the responsibility. And we can definitely do that so that we can get one out, quickly this month, a follow-up in November and a reminder in January.
And I think it needs to be on the website and I think it needs to be in the newsletter.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We can
Yeah.
do that.
That sounds good.
Like the hard part would be the approaches. As cars drive on, it's going to get pretty hard. We may have to go and try and scrape those, but can't really expect someone to try and shovel where cars go over top. Like pretty
Yeah.
tough. But then you're going to start scratching too, though.
You know what, I don't know if I should speak on, about the options here and where we should, like, where I would stand on it, but I do think we should just be like, you know what? Everybody on their own here, and the more hands doing snow removal, the better. Just like our residents, I don't think we changed it. The only reason we changed it is because of the inconvenience that the construction caused the businesses
Mhm.
downtown. We were giving them, a little bit of leniency there, but going forward, it should be. And you know what? It's all in their best interest anyways to clear the snow so that their customers can come
Right.
and enjoy their business. So
Yeah.
I'm sure we're maybe, and I might, don't take this the wrong way, that we're overthinking things here. We just let the businesses do it. I know that there's always going to be problem, there's always problem residents that aren't clearing their snow.
Oh,
But I think if we just continue with what we've done in the past, just like the other municipalities, and let the businesses do their thing.
I think everyone
Yeah.
catches on eventually.
I think so.
I
Yeah.
think it's nothing new for the businesses. We just
Yeah.
really had a year hiatus there during construction.
And I know that there was a couple of years where there was a lot of pushback, people trying to get to the post office and the sidewalks there were not cleared
Yeah.
and they didn't necessarily drive. And so they had to use the sidewalk.
Mhm.
And so, that was part of it as well as the
Yeah, we
construction
did
of
it for
Railway.
years, but it was a quick
Yeah, I
straight
know.
through. It took half an hour kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's a little more involved now, so.
Yeah.
So what's your recommendation then?
Just before we do that, Councillor Knight, any,
The sweeps we use, Jack, that go through the
Oh, I
paths?
see it.
Are we able, I think we'll put it back in the business, but we can make an attempt if we have some time. Is it possible to run that sweep down that main?
Well, the problem
walkway
is
or not?
it's pretty wide. So what happened last year, we ended up sweeping out a lot of the sand out of the brickwork.
Okay,
I got told that. But it's such a big machine and it's so long, you can't turn down any of the side things. The pots would be in the way, obviously. So it's not really ideal for that.
Yeah.
And a straight blade doesn't, that really scratches it up.
Yeah.
So.
Councillor Cornelison?
I agree. It should be up to the business owner
Okay.
because it's adjacent to your business.
Okay. Yes,
I just want to clarify, I'm just reading the policy. So it is our designated officer, which is the peace officer. He would leave a notice or directly contact in person or by telephone, the property owner or the occupier. And if it's not adhered to after 24 hours, then we notify the operational department. And if the operational department is not available, then we contract it out. But again, the charges are put back onto the business or the occupier.
right.
So it's already in our policy. And we can definitely, you know, put excerpts of our policies in our letters just to remind
Okay.
or the businesses.
All right.
Yeah, so yeah, our recommendation is obviously the homeowners, business owners,
Business.
just saves a few tax dollars there.
Okay.
All right,
Somebody has a motion they want to make?
Mayor Tennant, we have a question in.
Questions from the public come at the end.
Yeah.
Normally it's at the end. Okay, make it quick unless,
Okay.
what does council wish? Otherwise, the policy can certainly, we can try it this way, have it back to the businesses for this year, monitor it, track it, see what the outcome is. And then council can make a different decision next time if they wish.
Mayor, if I may?
Yep.
If we don't make a decision now,
Yep.
I think that we're just kind of prolonging
Yep.
that decision-making process. And I think that, of course, if there is some discussions that need to be had because there is some issues out there, I certainly encourage the business owners and the people that are occupying those properties that they come forward to council or to administration to bring that to council's attention so that we can certainly deal with them. And I know that the council of the day will entertain anything like that. So
Okay,
I'd like to make a motion,
Okay.
Mayor, if I may, that that the regulations of the community standards bylaw, roads and sidewalks, snow clearing and removal policy remain the same, whereby the owner occupier is responsible for snow removal on sidewalks. And I'd like to just add that maybe to the motion that we review this bylaw again, probably midway through our winter season.
Okay.
So I don't know what's midway, October. So possibly, the first meeting in January, something like that. But we don't have to pinpoint a date, do we?
no, I don't think so, because it'll depend on the type of winter we have as well.
Yeah. Lindsay, does that work for the
Yep.
motion? Okay.
Okay, so review midwinter and
And certainly contact, and get any feedback we can from the businesses
Okay.
on how things are working out there.
all right. That's the motion. All in favor? Okay, and that's carried. Okay, Big Bear's Liquor Den. We're a little early for them. Are they on Zoom? No? Okay, so we'll keep going. Marion Klug, concerns regarding baseball diamonds on McCaskill Drive. You're here. We'll let you take the chair early. How's that?
Thank you. Oh, wait. before you
Wait,
sit
wait.
down.
We'll just clean the
yes.
table before you.
Hi, Marion. Hi, Jen.
Good to see you. Mayor, councilors.
you.
On the 13th of July, there was a ball tournament across of McCaskill Drive, which is where we live, along with some neighbors. And her daughter's living with us while she goes to college this semester in Olds. And her car adamantly got hit with a ball and smashed the rear window. We've lived here 20 years, and I knew when we bought this house across from the Diamonds that we've got risks, like living off a golf course. We've never really had anything seriously broken or damaged other than the odd dent in the garage door from the balls bouncing. But this year we've had more balls making it over that fence and hitting actually the power pole 20 feet up than we've had in the 20 years we've lived there. I've never seen that many balls come over towards our house. Now, I was also told by one of my neighbors that that diamond is smaller than the other ones to the north and to the south and on the other side by the tracks. And I've never seen in this last couple of tournaments, the ball diamonds to the north, the south one was used. None of them have been utilized. And I asked one of the ball players, I said, why aren't you guys using that diamond to the north or to the south? And she said, we don't like that diamond.
Yeah.
I see it for one, there's ample parking in the community hall and at the arena for the ball players to park at instead of clogging up Whitfield Avenue right around the corner where the ball diamonds are and the playground is, reducing the risk of any children being hurt. That same night, just after the car got smashed, my boys and the girl brought the car around in front of our house to clean up the mess. 3 or 4 more balls came over and one came inches from hitting my neighbor's little 3-year-old boy. She had to pull him out of the way in order to get him out of the way in time. And she went over and talked to them and they didn't feel concerned to stop the game at all. They didn't want to talk to us until after the game was over. When they mentioned it to him, they said, oh, we're going to wait till our game's done. We're in the middle of a game. You're interrupting us. So I want to know, things get damaged. Yeah, we bought that house. That's our risk. But when kids start getting hurt and damaged like that to extent, and nobody's taking responsibility, nobody's stopping the game to come over and take ownership. My neighbor had to come over and knock on my door and say, your car just got hit.
Gotcha.
And my other concern too is with the extension north of us, the Vista and the McCaskill Drive being opened up, there's going to be increase of traffic. And I see it now, increase of foot traffic, people walking their dogs, people riding their bikes, more kids are out on the street in front of that playground and in front of the soccer field. So my concern is, what are we going to do and what's the protocol going to be in order to prevent more of this happening or an injury happening or somebody driving by and getting hit at the same time?
Yeah. So I think we need our Parks Department to take a look at who rents which ball diamonds. I know the one ball diamond that nobody likes, it is an issue. It's been an issue since it was built. So that's not new information to us. But I think we'll get the Parks Department to take a look at what can be put up there for fencing and that kind of thing and
Right,
get that issue
because, yeah,
resolved.
the survey marker at the foul line at the edge of the field only measures 207 feet
Okay.
on that, and that's the town's survey marker on that as well too.
Okay.
Which is way too short for adult ball, basically
Okay.
is what it is. It's good for little league, for, little guys playing t-ball and stuff like that. So, but what we really need to do is just kind of clarify the procedure or the protocol for when property does get damaged. Because there was, like we said, if our neighbors hadn't have been home, nobody would have told us. Our daughter-in-law would have got up in the morning, went to go to work without somebody trying to break into the car.
Yeah. Well, it's to be hoped that they would have come over at the end of the game, but
Well, you would
yeah,
hope,
that's an
and I
assumption
went over
too,
and actually
right?
talked
Yeah.
to one of the team
Yeah.
captains over there,
Right.
and they just kind of shoot me away, said, okay, well, we're in the middle of the game.
Yeah.
Don't interrupt us
Yeah.
right now. We'll come over and see you after the game.
So it wasn't.
And then, of course, after the game was,
Yeah.
everybody was gone
Yeah.
and nobody come over and knocked on the door.
Yeah.
It
for sure.
was, what gentleman's name?
Christopher?
Christopher.
Ashton.
Yeah.
He come over because I actually found him on Facebook after talking to my other neighbor and just mentioned to him what happened and said, I'd like it if you guys could at least come over and talk to us, see the damage and see what we're going to do about this. If you guys got insurance, we weren't sure what the protocol was when something happens. And he even said that in the 11 years he's been running this league, only happened twice, once with us and once with a player that actually had their vehicle hit in the parking lot. And they just took it as they're playing. That's their risk of being on the
Right.
diamond.
Yeah,
Yeah, and we also need to know what that liability insurance covers, because
Right.
obviously the town rents the ball diamond to the league or to the team, and they have to carry liability insurance, but what does that liability insurance cover? Because Jennifer is our daughter-in-law's daughter, our mother,
Mhm.
and she's fighting with her insurance company right
Right.
now because her insurance company wants witnesses, they want pictures, they want names, telephone numbers, the whole 9 yards. So this is
Yeah.
just sitting in limbo right
oh, for
now.
sure. Yeah.
Meanwhile, the back window for the car costs $650.
Right. Yeah.
Right, so we don't really know where we stand as homeowners.
Right.
They say we've lived there for, well, this July will be 20 years.
Oh,
We've
yeah.
lived there.
Yeah.
And you come home from a ball tournament, there used to be a lot more ball tournaments in the past. And there'd be one ball in your flower bed. But it's just the last 2 years that things are really. So I don't know if they're using different balls, different bats, or what they're doing, or
Right.
everybody's.
I think it's what they're putting in the food.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. right?
It's in the water.
Yeah, it's in the water. So, but like
Yeah.
us as homeowners and
Yeah.
everybody that lives on that block, you know, the first 8 houses on McCaskill Drive were all affected by it.
Right.
And I would really like to know what the procedure is for us.
Sure.
when we do notice that property.
Meryl, do you have information on that, how that would work?
I don't. I'm not sure how that would work if it falls on the actual association. I believe it does fall under the ball association, their responsibility for any damages.
But for a homeowner, they wouldn't know which league or who the contact person is. So they would contact the town and then the
Yes,
town would
Yes, so we
figure out.
definitely have those details, so
Okay.
we can put our people in touch with your people, with you. So I think we have your email address and we can get Harrison or Russ to email you tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, and hopefully this gets sorted out.
Yeah, I can speak, just try to figure out what that insurance that they
Absolutely.
carry actually
Yeah.
covers.
Yep.
Because it sounds like it's only personal injury for the league, for the
Okay.
teams.
Oh,
Jennifer could probably speak more on that. She's been going back and forth with her insurance company.
okay.
Right.
And that's where the problem is, it's like, well, who's responsible? Well,
Yeah.
nobody really has the liability coverage for that. So that's something we need to look forward or look at in the future.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
Because
for
we
sure.
I
have-
feel like if the
Things will happen.
conversation is started, we'll get to a resolution.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Then I'm
sure.
thinking too, he said it's only happened twice that they know of, that they've come to and
Right, yeah.
actually
Well,
up to.
oh, for sure. And I mean, that's another whole conversation, right? We'll deal with this, but yeah, so,
yeah,
okay.
there should be some kind of protocol in place with.
And we enjoy
Well,
watching the ball
yeah.
games. In
Yeah, we
fact,
sit out there and have
We wanna-
refreshments and we love it.
Yeah, well, and again, you would contact the town because the town would know who it is that rented it. And so that's where you would start and
Right.
then we can help follow it through.
And then,
I
yeah,
mean, they should at least provide you with ball gloves, right?
exactly. Well, we have a couple,
we have a couple.
but there's, in the past, there's just never been a big need for it.
Yeah.
There's
Right,
never a problem with it, but I mean, some of the onus should be on the teams as well too. I mean, if you damage somebody's property, just have the common decency to come over, leave a note on the vehicle or knock on a door. It's parked out in front of the house. There's probably people home. Just
so,
let
you're sorry.
residents know.
Yeah. So this is a one-off and you guys will have the conversation. In the meantime, I think there is a proposed motion here that the Operations and Parks Department look into alternative safety fence measures at Ball Diamond 2 located within McCaskill Park. So I think that's what we'll do. And then you can carry on the conversation with administration. They'll work with you to figure out the other part of it.
Can I add one thing to that, Mayor?
Yeah.
Speaking from being the president of minor ball right now, I can tell you when we pay our insurance fees at the start of the season, if we have our own home tournaments, we actually put a liability rider on top of that. So I think we should also be looking to talk with Slow Pitch to see what they have for their insurance coverage.
Mhm.
I also think that I do know that Mr. Ashton and Mr. Kadirk are both looking at other options too, possibly of adapting the field on Diamond 1, maybe putting a snow fence in there or something to make it more usable for a slow pitch diamond. So I believe slow pitch has taken the concern fairly seriously. I think Chris is trying to do something else. He's great for the community.
Oh, yeah.
I think they're also looking at options too, because to be honest, I don't see us putting a big net up. We can do it, but I can tell you from the golf courses that I've ran, they fall over, they get wrecked, the wind wrecks them all. If we could maybe limit traffic to that field, route them to Diamond 1 or Diamond 4, I think we're better off.
That's what my proposal too is. if, as a last resort, if you've got that many players that you need to use that diamond,
100%.
when the other ones are being used,
Yes.
absolutely. But when those other two are sitting empty
Yeah.
and they're just going to that one,
Mhm.
maybe let's look at using the bigger ones first.
And that could be in our agreement with slow pitch when we have that at the start of the season. We can sit down and discuss preferences for stuff like that. There's some common sense ways we can get around some of these
Oh,
things too.
absolutely.
Yeah.
We can include that in the motion, actually, if somebody wants to make that motion, that we take a look at.
I'm just curious if we can also include in the motion that when we rent those ball diamonds out or for whichever league, that in that agreement, the town receives their insurance and liability insurance.
So a copy of their insurance and that we would be an insured or?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but do we not do that already for all
I-
town-owned properties?
think we
I don't know.
do,
We do for
but-
minor ball. I have to submit the insurance for.
Unfortunately, I can't answer that question. That would be, I'd have to follow up with Russ just to verify.
Okay.
But if it's not a requirement, I feel like it's a valid one that we
Yeah.
can add.
I was a little bit opposed to netting because that would obstruct my view of the ball games.
Okay, now, do you need the view or do you need your window?
Exactly.
Just asking.
We gotta figure it out somehow.
All right. So we've got a recommendation here. Does somebody want to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, and so you want your motion to read what?
The operations park department looking at alternative options
Okay.
to Diamond 2 within McCaskill Park. I think just options, that might be the proper answer or what would
Sure.
the-
Because then administration can forward the discussion
Yeah.
about the usage, the liability insurance
Yeah.
counting or having us as an additional insured. Okay, so that's the motion. Any further discussion?
No.
If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's carried. And then we'll encourage you to contact Merrill directly and then work out whatever steps have to go forward. Okay?
Okay.
Great.
Super. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, bylaw 6.1, Chief Administrative Officer, bylaw 2021-09. Bylaw is there. Somebody want to give it, now this is an existing bylaw with significant amendments. Is it administration's hope we do all three readings or just as amended?
No, we would require 3 readings.
Okay,
So just to give you a little bit of background, the previous bylaw was from 2015. And we did make a few amendments that include more detail under the signing authority, awarding amendments, and delegation of powers.
okay, somebody want to give bylaw 2021-09 first reading?
Mayor, I'd like to give that first reading.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, are we comfortable with doing all 3? Shall we continue on or do you want to do
I just
2 and then have it come back?
I just had one question.
Sure.
There was no date on this. If we, like for Sue to have the new CEO to have powers. Is it by, as of the time that the contract is signed? Or,
So essentially the CAO bylaws, and it can be in place prior to, so as
Yeah.
you would, as
They're
the
not-
interim, I would have this authority
Okay.
right now, so.
Yeah, they aren't attached to each other, so that
Okay,
can
yeah.
then I'm
be
good.
before or.
Yeah, my
after the
assumption
light.
would be as soon as the bylaw comes in place that it shouldn't matter
No.
who's in.
Yeah,
Okay.
then I'm good.
Okay,
Yeah.
somebody want to give bylaw 2021-09 second reading?
I'll
Okay.
so move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, somebody want to move forward bylaw 2021-09? Okay, moving it forward, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and Councillor Cornelison, do you want to give it third and final reading?
Yes.
Okay, and all in favor?
Aye.
That's carried. All right, that is in place. Do we have? Yes? Okay, we'll go back to 5.1 Big Bear's Liquor Den. They're on Zoom. And Mustafa, you're speaking to that?
Good evening. I believe Big Bear Liquor Den just wanted to have a discussion in regards to the motion that was made in the previous council. So I'll leave the floor to them and we can have the discussion at that point.
Okay.
Hi, Wendy.
Go
Hi.
ahead.
Oh, sorry. So the motion that was made, I believe, was.
Just a sec. If you might be muted, just a sec.
Is the sound up?
And it looks like the town of Crossfields muted.
It looks like we're muted.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Okay, we're
Can't hear.
just a sec. We're still not hearing you.
Okay.
Wendy. Wendy, can you hear us?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
She's got traffic that way.
We just can't hear you yet, Wendy. Just bear with us.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Wendy, would you be able to log out and then log back in again?
Okay.
So we're sure the speakers are up, eh? It's connected to that laptop. Is it? If you run this like a.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Something off that laptop. Is there a way to test that sound off the laptop speakers test?
Oh, okay, that's me. Okay.
Left technology.
All right. Can you hear me now? Nothing?
We're sure those speakers.
We're having a technical issue, Wendy.
I wonder if,
We like to see your smiling face, but we're not good at lip reading.
Is there a phone number down?
yeah,
Oh,
I wonder if she can call in.
Flashcards.
Yeah.
does the meeting, Lindsay, have a dial-in number to it?
You can use mine if you want.
Mhm.
Because if she calls into the number, we'll speak.
So we can't hear her, but there's people that are watching it can hear her.
Oh,
So it's our speakers then.
Yeah.
It's 100% speakers.
Lindsay, what about the volume?
Good call, Justin. Nice catch.
Yeah.
Wendy, did you hear that? That some other people can hear? Yeah, I
Yes.
just had my wife send me a text saying that they could hear.
Let's see.
Bit of a delay there, eh? Technology.
There's no number.
I'm off shift right
No, and
now.
yeah. It's gotta be a number she can call in.
There should be a download number, but
Yeah.
it doesn't leave it better. Download number.
But we could put, if she even called a phone, we could put it right by that speaker
Yeah, that's right.
and it would catch it.
Yeah. That's a good call.
If she
She's got-
called Mustafa. Yeah.
Still can't hear me.
there we go. You've come to life for us.
Perfect.
Thank you for enduring there. Go ahead. Go ahead, Wendy.
Okay, so we just wanted to talk about the motion that was made. Obviously, my husband's up north back at work, so I'm here in his place. So the motion I believe that was made was for us to bear the cost of reinforcing the sidewalk. Obviously, that's not ideal for us because we feel like this space was approved as a liquor store more than 10 years ago. We've owned it for almost 3, and we've never had an issue with our receiving door until Smith Avenue was narrowed. That's where I feel the responsibility lies. For me, even if there was currently an issue with the receiving door and our truck stopping there, that should have been brought to our attention. And it should have been engineered properly to reinforce that sidewalk, because you can't just arbitrarily take away our receiving door. We are a liquor store, which was approved. So our biggest issue with this is because we've been operating the same way for basically, like I said, 3 years, the end of October, we don't feel that it should be on us to get our receiving area back. We have no issue with our truck parking in the back laneway. Obviously with some modifications with the garbage cans and etc. Because right now the turn radius is not there. But we have no issue with that. However, we have an issue with us being asked to pay $14,000 to reinforce that sidewalk when it should have been part of the program when this was originally engineered.
Well, may I answer that? So
Go
we
ahead,
did replace the
Mustafa.
sidewalk with kind. So whatever was there, we replaced it with the same sidewalk that was there. So with any business, if you do any upgrades to any building and you bring a business in as part of your development agreement, you have to pay for the upgrades yourself. That's the
Okay,
approach.
but we're an existing business.
For sure. I'm just telling you the approach we took that
Okay.
and based on our bylaws and the standards that are set out, we had to follow those. If council wishes to make an amendment to those, that is council's decision as a whole.
Was it not $6,000, Mustafa, for the costs?
It was
For
for,
the costs?
so 6,000 was for the 3 pieces that are additional pieces that will be installed. So the original plan was that, you know, we will keep going with how everything is. If any of the concrete cracks or breaks at any point, those would have to get replaced and be reinforced. Typically, concrete shouldn't crack, but depending on how much weight you put onto it, there is a possibility of it. So that $14,000 of that additional cost, that's assuming that every single concrete piece is going to crack. And we are not expecting that to happen.
So if we kept part of that money in trust and tried it for a year and it didn't crack, then it wouldn't be a full $14,000 cost. That money would go back to them. And then at the end of the day, the 3 extras that we're putting in would be the only cost.
Exactly. And that's what we stated in that report, is
Okay.
that we would be holding that money as a security to test it out for the time being to see how that's going to impact the concrete itself.
Okay.
It wasn't a fixed cost that had to be occurred right away. So
Sure.
if the concrete holds up for, we'd like to test it for a year or two, just to see how that looks. If 2 years, nothing's breaking, that means, the concrete has sufficient strength and we can proceed the way we are. And the deposit can be returned back to the.
Does it
individual.
need 2 years? I thought we'd be able to tell them 1.
It's just based on, so concrete technically, it gets its full strength after 30 years. Realistically, with 2 years, you're going to be around that 98% strength. So.
Okay. Councillor Gustafson.
I can hear Wendy's concerns here, and what I'd like to know is prior to the revitalization, what did that, because I can't remember what it looked like at her receiving doors. Did we change it substantially so that she could not use the receiving doors?
If you don't mind, Christina, do you mind pulling up Google Maps and we can show them what that looked like? And then this way we're not guessing what it looked like.
I'm actually on it right now, but what it looked like and this should be a current, or this should be prior to.
Exactly. There should be one photo of it prior. And then that way we can do an actual assumption. To be honest, my memory is not that well, so I don't want to be trying to paint an image that I don't
And that's
really remember.
Nathan, right? Or sorry, that's Smith. Ooh, it's.
So
probably not-
basically, all the parking was taken off of that side of the street, and all the boulevard with the grass and the trees was put in to replace all those parking stalls. So our truck basically parked in those parking stalls for the 10 or 15 minutes we needed it to be there. It was out of the way of traffic. It wasn't ideal, but we were never told it was an issue. Obviously, we would have addressed this previous even to buying the store. You just assume that a liquor store has an accepted receiving area. It's we need a loading dock. So
Okay.
obviously, right? So, and that's our issue is the street was narrowed and now we have an issue.
So we actually have 2 issues here, Wendy. We have the offloading or the placement of the vehicle, the offloading of the vehicle. And then we have the issue of where you're able to open your doors, your loading doors, correct? That's 2 separate issues.
Well, the loading doors don't lay flat against the building. So that's why we would have to add those concrete blocks or the 2 extra pieces of sidewalk basically. So we can kind of come down the sidewalk, back up the pallet jack with the freight and then go in the door. Like I said, the other alternative was to make sure that the street is plowed 100%.
Yeah, I'm very familiar, Wendy, of your concern there. I know that there's 2 separate issues here. It's where the truck is able to park to offload and you to be able to swing your doors open to, it's that shadow is there.
But they're okay now with unloading.
You're okay with where to unload. You just need to be able to open your doors to.
So I'm just curious, while we're waiting, if we can just back up a minute, Meryl. I'm just wondering if you give a little background on when that building was built, where the intent was, and just to follow up on Wendy's concerns that if they have or haven't been notified, even with before the change for the road, that parking that large truck there was acceptable or not acceptable.
Okay, so it was changed. So I'm sorry, Meryl, to jump
That's
into
okay.
your answer.
Okay.
So it was changed. There was grass put in there. So it was drastically changed so that, I can see your concerns, Wendy.
But part of the historical issue is that was put in, but it wasn't supposed to be a loading area. Is that correct, Meryl?
Yep.
But the streets,
But we have two separate issues here. They have no problem where the truck parks.
No,
It's now that we put some obstructions for them to actually use their loading zone now.
No, that's correct, but we have to back up a little bit because Wendy did mention that from before to now. So she did mention that they were never notified that that should not be a loading zone. And what the intent of the loading zone was when that building was built. And I think that maybe Meryl can speak to that, just to clear those things up before we move on.
Fair enough. Yeah, I agree.
I don't recall the timing, but I do know that when that location was approved for a liquor store, that offloading was required in the alley. I believe, Lindsay, are you looking up the agreement at the moment? I believe one of the conditions of that liquor store being at that location is that offloading was to take place in the alley. Now, I'm not familiar with that actual bay, but it was my understanding that there were doors on the rear in the alley, like on the rear side of the building that would allow access for each of the businesses, for each of the bays. But I'm not sure about this one. I know that the former bar did, and I know the fabric store has access from the alley as well.
And those two businesses are on Railway.
They face railway.
Okay, this one faces Smith.
Yes,
No,
that's,
No, the business doesn't. fit.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, but it's
We
loading
have the
door.
corner units.
yes.
So I'm just curious, was out front there ever approved for a loading zone?
I don't believe it was, but Lindsay's just looking up the original approval just to verify.
so we have a curb on there and the town would have installed the curb, correct? So there has to be assumption that there was access from the street in there in a curb start of some sort for something to go through those doors. Because it'd be different if that was curbed all the way across, and if it was 4 inches up, we'd have a whole, we've taken access away from pulling something to that door.
So that's actually a roll curb. So most of the infrastructure or any of the sidewalks that we typically get, we usually do go for a roll curb just because it is a cheaper alternative. So they are still curbs. They're not actually meant to be ramps at all.
Regardless, you put a loading door in, the town is approved for a loading door to be put into that building on that side. Regardless, if you roll it from the street or roll it down the sidewalk, that's a loading door.
You have to have access both ways.
You know what, personally, I agree with Wendy. We've changed it enough that you can't properly use that loading door.
But if we put in those 3 blocks as recommended, then that gives them their full loading
Yes.
area back.
But the issue is, who pays for it?
Yeah.
I got a question. So I voted against them paying for it. And I only asked this, if we replace those or added those 3 pieces of concrete and stuff, and we paid the contractor, we paid the general, that ends up on our P&L statements and our capital expenses. We don't charge any other business downtown an expense for doing something that we are putting together. So if there was a written agreement about what would be on that concrete, I can't see why I would have more costs incurred other than the $6,000 for the work.
Sure. So to kind of add on to your point, there will be 2 additional panels on each side. Currently, knock on wood, the project is under budget. So that could be one of the items that we could put on our list with, using that extra money that we have remaining and add as our list of deficiency stuff or things that we'd like to alter. And we could incur it to the project if council wishes to go in that direction.
But that doesn't answer my question about why would we charge a customer, a business in town, additional cost of something that we are hiring a contractor for, or occurring the project, completing, signing off and stamping, and having the business owner agree to that. I'm 100% confused why we would charge them additional fees or anything about cracking, because we're not telling the business to go hire a contractor where they're liable. We're completing the entire scope of work. It makes 0 sense to me why we would charge them anything else. Other than if we were to charge them just the cost to do that project, right? If it was just, you have to buy these 3 blocks, whatever, I get that. I'm confused at the rest of this.
Oh, you're talking about the 14,000, that'd be the
Yeah.
deposit. So the reason why we put that in there is because we replaced the concrete in kind. So whatever the type of concrete it was, the thickness and everything like that, that was the identical concrete we put into it. We actually made it thicker than what was actually there. So from a standards perspective, we went above and beyond what was there existing. So it is technically should be able to take off the load, but if it does crack, it becomes who pays for the cracking of it, right?
Wouldn't we just engineer the proper concrete to the proper costs at one-time fees?
Well, it was engineered not to take that kind of weight, right?
Yeah. but
So
if-
that's an upgrade to it.
But it's not, if it's not an upgrade, because if originally the loading, like you said originally, the trucks were supposed to be in the back laneway. But for 3 years, we just parked our trucks on the street because that's what the previous owner said was what was done. So I have no issue, like I said, pulling into that laneway. However, so if that was the intended drop off or where the truck was supposed to be parking all along, then why are we being asked to pay for a sidewalk? That's my thing. If that was the initial spot, then that sidewalk should have been engineered to hold the weight of our freight coming in the door. That's my issue.
Yeah, and I think, Wendy, what was supposed to happen was that when you parked in the back alley, it came in the back of the building. So it wasn't coming up the sidewalk.
But we don't have access in the back. We have a single man door in the back to our bay. We don't have our double doors to get a skid through there.
I get that, but I think that's why that sidewalk was built to the standard it was.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's.
I'm curious, what, were those double doors original to the building or were they built afterwards?
They were original to the building.
The one confusing thing is we did look at the drawings itself. The drawings that we have on file do not match the building. So what was approved, that was approved, God knows when, a long time ago.
So were those doors in the drawings that we have?
To be honest, I don't remember.
I'd have to pull the file and look at the original drawings.
I think regardless of what has happened in the past, we need to move forward on this. And we did alter the sidewalk, which impeded her operation of the door. I agree with Councillor Knight on this one. Now that I can see what it used to look like and being able, and correct me if I'm wrong, if the sidewalk was back the way it was with no grass, like we put grass in there, and how much did you narrow the road up?
So with the road itself being narrowed up, it's actually, if you look at the through traffic itself, the laneway itself is actually larger than it was before. What we did was we eliminated the loading zone, the so-called loading zone that wasn't approved.
Yeah, but you put grass in where that other bit of concrete was, if you look on that.
For sure. So if we look at the sizing of the concrete, it's really hard to measure based on that. It is smaller sidewalk than what's out there right now. So it is a larger sidewalk that we have over there.
Compared to that, can you bring that back up on the screen?
Yeah, well, if you look at it as two different pieces, right? So it looks like it was a combination of two. So
He's talking about just that sidewalk up against the building.
So just the sidewalk up against it, like from the door to the end of the concrete?
Yeah. So
is that narrower than what we have right now?
If you're looking at the full width, right now, depending on which section, if you're looking just at the sidewalk, then yes, because that was a uniform mono walk all the way through. If we're looking at where the bay doors were, it's actually wider because we did add the additional panel for the panels, for the pallets to come in, right? We have the two.
But overall, from the door to the driving surface where the vehicle is in the previous is wider than it is now.
Okay, so it was wider and it was able to accommodate a pallet jack with a.
It still can, but it's not as wide.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't explain that correctly, but
so, yeah. Now that I can see what has changed there, I know we can't go back on how we voted, but.
Well, I'm just curious if there's a compromise though. I mean, I think there's responsibilities that lie with each party.
There's some from the owner, not the owner of the liquor store, but the owner of the building.
I agree.
Like
It's got to be the building owner, not responsibility.
And I mean.
But we own our 3 bays.
Yeah.
So we do own that, like it's condo. So it's individually owned by all the condo owners.
Yeah.
So we own the bays that we are in also.
So if I may add on that, have we, like, one thing we did look at is there was the possibility of taking the pallet down the sidewalk. And basically, if the doors are closed, you can put it onto that additional piece of sidewalk, open up the doors, put the pallets in. Would that be an option just to try that out and see how that works for the year? And what we can do is, if council wishes, we can put this as one of the items that we can look at as part of things that need to be looked at for the downtown as that list that we're creating. And that bigger discussion could be had on later on.
I would ask Wendy that question, if that would suffice for her right now, and because it, you know what, I don't work at that business. It's more, you know, Wendy's, you know.
Sure. No, and it's
I would
for
think-
everyone to comment on it.
I wish we had a photo of it now so we can see the two side by side.
Oh, and I'm just curious, we're worried a little bit about the weight.
To be honest, when it comes down to it, I don't expect it to crack, but.
But to mitigate that, we could lessen the weight of each load that comes in.
Exactly.
We
There are
can't.
alternatives.
We can't.
No.
That is all from warehouses. We don't have the ability to say, hey, can you half load my skids? It's just not a thing. So that's why we're trying to figure out, that's a thing. I mean, when I get a skid of beer, it's going to be a skid of beer. That's how they put it out of their warehouse.
I have a question for you, Wendy. Have you had skids already on that sidewalk already? And if so, have you noticed any cracking?
We've only brought it because we've been parking the truck on the street, and I've been directing traffic when they come, because I do agree it's definitely a safety hazard for oncoming traffic. There are no longer two clear lanes of traffic that can get through with our truck parked there because those parallel parking stalls were taken out. So that's kind of where he parked. So we have had, we did run an empty skid down just to make sure it's wide enough. And it is in fact wide enough with the pallet jack. But we've only ever come up the rolled curb because we've been offloading from the street up until now.
Wendy, I have a question. With your expansion to the south, does that give you an access from the back that would kind of, I don't know, be a temporary or be an alternate access to bringing in the pallets?
No, it's not actually, because we did expand. We now own 3 bays. We've actually got, all said and done, 4,300 square feet. You all ought to check it out. It's amazing. We're not quite 100% expanded yet, but it's amazing. But yeah, they all have single man doors to access through the parking lot.
Okay.
So I
All
don't
right.
know if that's maybe something we can look into, is maybe putting in a second door into one of those back areas. I mean, obviously we're willing to work with council. We don't want to be a pain in the ass, but at the same time, we've invested $1 million of our own money into this town to open a liquor store. So I'm just saying, like, we got approved for the expansion of the beer room. Then we got approved for the expansion of the other side. So, you know, we went from 1,500 square feet to 4,300 square feet in less than 3 years. It's all been approved. We've paid for all the development fees, yada, yada. So I'm just saying, like, obviously we want to work with council, because we were at the point that we were going to renovate and sell the store and get out of Dodge because we're so frustrated. And I love Crossfield, and that isn't a threat. I'm just saying we've just been so frustrated with this whole thing because we were never told it was an issue with that receiving door. That's what this comes down. Like, we want to work with you guys. If it's possible, maybe I can talk to, you know, one of the contractors that built that building, and see if we can put maybe a second door in off the alleyway in one of our back rooms. Yes, it would modify our whole back room, and we would have to obviously just do things differently. But if that's a possibility, we are for that as well.
All right.
If I may add on that, the double door is going to cost you more than the additional panels of concrete, just because it is
Yeah, structure change.
a component.
Yeah.
So that's got to get stamped and everything.
Yeah.
That would
You're
be
right.
easily
Yeah.
$25,000 one. So the concrete
But
option is
But
the,
it would eliminate all the issues about parking, having to direct traffic, short way into the building. You know, I mean, so that would be a business decision that they
exactly.
could make if they wished.
Exactly.
Okay, in the interim, what is council's wish?
Well, I think one of the biggest things is we really have to get that truck off the street.
Mhm.
So I think we have to come to some sort of conclusion.
So do we want to try for over the winter for at least, which would be the toughest time on the concrete, to leave it the way it is? Run those pallets up the sidewalk, see if that's doable with opening and closing the door, and then take another look at it in the spring. Wendy, would that work for you as well?
That works perfectly fine.
Yeah. Okay, all right. So let's make a motion then that we monitor this over the winter, come back with a follow-up report in the spring and make a decision there. I'll make that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Super. All right, Wendy, we'll keep each other posted.
Can I just have like another little conversation?
Is it to do with the liquor store?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So it's just, we have a couple of issues with this new, the current sidewalk in the front. Because apparently because we did the sidewalk blocks, which looks amazing. We love the new look. But because of that, it's holding the public cigarette butts in the front of our property. And we've been told that that is now our responsibility, as well as cleaning out the butt receptacle that was put there by the town. Again, I have an issue with this. It's never been our, you know what I mean? I understand, but at the same time, I don't want continued visits from Trevor telling me that council and mayor has asked me to clean up butts.
Sorry, if I may.
Go.
Yeah, so based on the number of cigarette butts that were out there, what we did was we installed I guess you could say like an ashtray or something, 5 meters away from the business, because that's what the law indicates. We did that just so we can reduce the amount of cigarette butts that are there. So I think that might be more of an education thing that we need to do, where we need to let people know that, hey, there is a spot to dispose of your cigarette stuff. When it comes to cleaning it, that's a public works thing. Public works has the key to clean that out. It's not a business thing.
Okay, I was told it was a business thing.
Or the ashtray component of it.
Wow. Okay.
So it's like when when we're getting rid of the garbage and everything, we empty that as well.
Okay.
But there is a key for that.
All right.
And then the last issue I have is parking. So obviously we lost a parking stall in the front. We have residents of the building. We would request from the town to make that all 45-minute parking and enforceable. Because we're having a real issue having parking for our customers, quite honestly. And as I was reading through both the development permit, the bylaws, it states that a business needs 1 parking stall per 500 square feet, or 1,000 square feet or something. So technically we should have 4 assigned parking stalls. And then there's the handicap stall, 2 stalls down to the south. And there's a tenant that parks there all day and all night. And I have an issue with that because it is a handicap stall. And again, that is the only handicap stall in the whole length of that building. So I would just ask that we could maybe start enforcing, put up 45-minute signs. We're more than happy to pay for those signs. But yeah, it's been an ongoing issue, obviously, with the tenants. But I was told by Trevor again that that's public parking and I can't enforce it.
Yeah, and I mean, on-street parking is not going to be assigned to businesses, but it is public parking. And so as such, I don't know about the 45 minutes because, you know, I hate to overpromise. If it says 45 minutes, then if it's reported to Trevor, he has to come mark it and then wait 45 minutes. And we don't have bylaw, we don't have RCMP all the time. So some of the enforcement is going to be a challenge. I'm not sure what the optimum is. Do you have any input with the condo board to get them to get their tenants, like their residents to park where, I mean, they're supposed to have stalls in the back.
As they do.
Okay,
We finally have an AGM on Thursday night this week, actually. So I'm quite excited. It's the first one in the 3 years we've been there. So I am going to also bring it up with them because I've talked to management a few times. I used to be a property manager. It's very difficult to enforce. But you know, if we can pass a bylaw with our building that says, hey, tenants have to park in the back, that's another option. As well as business owners, like it's quite frustrating that, you know, a business owner parks in our stall, the second stall from our door kind of thing, every day, all day. It's frustrating.
yeah.
Okay, those are all my questions. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you inviting us to the meeting. And I
Sure.
appreciate the conclusion we came to. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
Wendy, just before you go, Meryl would like to speak to the parking.
Okay.
Hi, Wendy. Hi, Wendy. I just wanted to give you a bit of background on parking and how we try to regulate it through the land use bylaw. So in our land use bylaw, we do have a parking requirement provision where every business is required to have so much parking based on seating or floor space. It varies for every type of business. So unfortunately, on Railway Street, it's very difficult to accommodate businesses and parking requirements, as you are very aware of. As far as enforcement goes, that's also very difficult because we have one bylaw officer who is on shift work and he's not always present in order to enforce. But I do know that parking will be a forever issue on Railway Street, regardless of how many parking stalls there are in front of a building. I do know Mustafa has done a bit of work in getting a report together that will be coming to the next council meeting. That's going to give council more information on, you know, what parking looks like specifically for the arches. I should also tell you, years ago, when that building was built, the Municipal Planning Commission of the day, they did reduce the amount of parking required for that building, as funny as that sounds, because they wanted to promote a more walkable community. So they wanted to see less vehicles. They wanted to see more people walking around the community, walking to work, that sort of thing. That's obviously not a reality. Many apartments probably have 2 vehicles because, you know, a couple each has a vehicle. So it is an issue, a forever issue. Although we quoted in our development permit approvals that you need so many parking spots for this type of business, it doesn't mean that it can be dedicated on Railway Street because we just don't have enough parking for all of the businesses.
Okay.
But I'm just giving you the information, but also, you know, stay tuned. We will have more information at the next council meeting.
Okay. And like I said, I will also bring that up at our AGM on Thursday. So maybe I can get some help from the management.
That'd be great.
Sounds good. Thanks,
Perfect.
Wendy.
Thank you so much,
Okay.
guys. Have a good night.
Okay.
Thanks, Wendy.
Bye-bye.
Okay, under action, now, do you want a motion that we monitor that or not?
We already have a report coming to the next council
Okay.
meeting that Mustafa has
Perfect.
regarding parking specifically for that building.
Okay, sounds good. Actions and decisions, temporary road closure request for a portion of Railway Street for September 13th. Eris, did you want to talk to that?
Hi, Iris. So as you are all fairly well aware, we are going to be having a collaborative event with the Crossfield Chamber of Commerce. The Ag Society's put in a little bit of work, and we are going to have our annual Community Fest showcasing downtown this year instead of collaborating with the high school, whose barbecue's actually been canceled anyway. So to do this and have enough space, we are requesting to have 2 blocks of railway closed to traffic temporarily from south of the Hammond intersection to north of the Smith intersection. Both of those intersections will still be available for traffic. And in Nanton, we will put a road closure sign, just a road closed ahead sign just after the alley entrances, so people can still be turning around if they have to. We're hoping to have the street closed from 3 PM to set up for 1 hour when the event starts at 4 PM, and then have it all opened up again for 8:30. The event is done at 8, and we're hoping that we can get all the barricades out of the way by 8:30 to open up again.
All right, any questions? If not, can I have a motion to go with that recommendation?
I'll move that.
Okay. And the motion, do you want to read it out?
I do.
Public?
Yeah. I move that Railway Street from Hammond Avenue to Smith Avenue be temporarily closed on September 13th, 2021 from 3 PM to 8:30 PM to accommodate the grand opening of downtown, as well as Community Fest, Food Truck Frenzy, and Chamber Egg Society.
All right, all in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Okay, and that's carried. All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks,
Iris.
Iris.
Thanks, Harris.
Request for a motion to apply for grant funding under Alberta Municipal Water Wastewater Partnership for Secondary Treatment Aeration Addition. Did you want to speak to that, Meryl, or?
We just require a motion simply as it was introduced, just in order to apply for the grant. We just need a motion from council.
Okay, any questions? If not, can I have a motion for that?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, and do you want to read the motion?
Ready? Okay. I make the motion that the town of Crossfield apply for grant funding under the Alberta Municipal Water Wastewater Partnership for the Secondary Treatment and Aeration Addition.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
That's carried. Hey, September 30th, National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. Do we want to have administration, or who wants to speak to the information you've collected?
Mayor Tennant, would you like me to read the report for council?
Certainly, please.
Yeah, I was looking for it.
Administration is looking for feedback, direction on the new national holiday on September 30th, National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. How does council wish to proceed to recognize this day? So we've given you some background information as far as the full scope of the holiday. So from the Government of Canada website, this day provides an opportunity for each public servant to recognize and commemorate the legacy of residential schools. This may present itself as a day of quiet reflection or participation in a community event. It also addresses one of the 94 calls to action from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. We call upon the federal government in collaboration with Aboriginal peoples to establish as a statutory holiday a National Day for Truth and Reconciliation to honor survivors, their families, and communities, and ensure that public commemoration of the history and legacy of residential schools remains a vital component of the reconciliation process. It is a designated paid holiday for federally regulated workers in the public and private sector beginning September 30th, 2021. Administration was not able to find any information regarding it becoming a statutory holiday. As far as we understand, the provincial government is leaving it up. They are leaving it up to provincial and municipal governments to determine on their own from what we've found. The province of Alberta is not recognizing September 30th as a statutory holiday. And the federal government passed on June 3rd by the Senate, and since then, the government of BC has followed suit and declared it a stat holiday for all public sector workers. This includes employees within the government itself and other public sector workers, like those of universities, banks, etc. September 30th was chosen because this has been marked as being Orange Shirt Day since 2013, when we honor the Indigenous children who were sent away to residential schools in Canada and learn more about the history of these schools. Other local municipalities, statutory holidays have been awarded for staff in the communities of Cold Lake, Canmore, Strathcona County, Fort McLeod, Town of Stony Plain, the Town of Gibbons, Municipal District of Bonnyville, Town of Cochrane. Innisfil and the Town of Canmore have given this it's a stat holiday, but it replaces Easter Monday. And Red Deer The city of Red Deer, Okotoks, the county of St. Paul are still determining what they want to do. And lastly, many of other municipalities have not declared the stat, but we'll be doing a few different things to acknowledge the day, including flying the flag at half-staff, social media posts, permanently adding a flag relevant to the treaty land on which they sit inside City Hall, land acknowledgements before public meetings, land acknowledgement actually put as vinyl lettering on the wall at City Hall, etc. Vulcan County will honor the day, but is not recognizing it as a stat holiday for their staff this year. This was a decision of their council. Rocky View County is honoring the day, but they are not recognizing it as a statutory holiday.
I do have a question. If we recognize it as either a general holiday or a stat holiday, we as a council don't force an obligation onto businesses to give staff the day off and get paid, right?
No.
This
No.
would be just ourselves.
It would just be
Yeah.
for our.
I just
the
wanted that
town
for clarification for the public, so. Okay. What is council's wish?
I think it's an important day to recognize, and I think we should. I'm not sure going the way of a stat holiday is the recognition that it really deserves. I would be more in favor of doing something on that day. For example, lowering the flags at half-mast, using our downtown lights and turning them orange for the day, possibly having some activities. I don't mind opening council meetings with a land acknowledgement. Those types of things I think are more significant than having a day off for workers. I don't know if that really acknowledges the significance of acknowledging the truth and reconciliation in the children.
Okay, Councillor Knight?
I would lean towards the province of Alberta and Rocky View and all that, see if they recognize it. Not give it a statutory holiday.
Councillor Gustafson?
I concur with Deputy Mayor Harris there. I think it's, it could just turn into another stat holiday and I'm not saying that everybody would recognize it at the same level that they should be, or, but, being able to do some events or, doing some things too, that the town can recognize it and not just create a stat just because it needs it.
Okay. Councillor Cornelison?
I agree as well. I think a visual memorial of some sort of recognition would be better represented than giving a day off. Like it doesn't stand for what the day stands for, giving them a day off.
Okay. And with it being a weekday, I'm not sure what events we'll be able to plan, like what we'll be able to get people to, but we could maybe, if nothing else, talk to the schools and see if there's some kind of cooperative thing that we could do together. But I like, do we know if the lights, if we can hold them to orange? Should have asked.
Are they,
Mustafa.
I was pretty sure that Mustafa had said that they were programmable.
Yeah, I think they are. I'm
And
sure
we-
he said that, yeah.
They're optic lighting, so
Yeah,
they should be able to be,
to.
and
I-
they use, what's the box, the term that they use for that?
The controller?
The controller, yeah.
Okay, well, let's find out. I think that's a good idea to have them orange and the flags at half staff. And then if we can maybe get some guidance on the land recognition, how it should be read, then we can certainly start including that in our, at the beginning of our council meeting. I think that's great.
Yeah, and I'm unsure on that one too, like if we're just on Treaty 7 lands or if it includes Métis and other.
Yeah, I'm sure
Yeah.
it probably does Métis at least, but we can get information on that
We
and
will.
start that for next meeting. Okay, and do you want that as a motion or do you want that just as having discussed or?
I think it should be a motion.
Okay. All right, somebody want to make a motion? You had the most detail, Deputy Mayor Harris?
Yeah, sure. And I think I'll just make the motion maybe that if council's okay, that, staff bring back some ideas
Okay.
on how we can recognize that day.
Sure.
As well as look into what the land acknowledgement would look like when we open council meetings.
All right, all in favor of that motion?
I,
That's carried. Okay. ATCO Gas and Pipeline Franchise Agreement was suggested that maybe we get a little more background on that. I know historically and we have just kept the percentage as it is because it is basically a flow through. If we increase the percentage, then ATCO just reflects that right back onto their customers. But Deputy Mayor Harris, you were thinking that maybe some more background information would be appropriate.
Yeah, I do. I'm just unfamiliar with some of the franchise fees and the background of that. One of my questions would be, how many years have we been holding it at 17%? What would the impact be if we adjusted that?
Okay.
And I'm unsure like how comfortable even the rest of our new counselors are on making a decision on that until they have more information.
I was curious, how long is this agreement for? Does it say?
How?
Sure, look.
They're
It just
usually
says
what
2022,
term?
it looks like, right?
I think does it not come up every year?
I can't remember how long the
It
terms
just
are.
says in the note 2020.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. Okay. And I'm fine with either decision, keeping it the same, coming back with more information. What would council like? There is a request for more information.
I agree.
Okay. You want to make that motion that it be brought back for more information?
Yes.
Okay. All
I
in
would
favor?
like
Okay,
I,
that's carried. Signing authority, Chief Administrative Officer Sue Keenan. Can we have a motion that she be authorized as a signator, as a signing authority for the town of Crossfield?
So this is the one that I was looking for a date on. As of the signing of the contract? Because we haven't signed a contract with her.
It would be the date that she starts. So effective the date that you execute the document.
Perfect.
Okay, so we would add that to the motion effective the date she signs the contract. Okay. Who wants to make that motion?
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Okay, and you want to read that out, please?
Make the motion that the Chief Administrative Officer Sue Keenan be authorized as a signing authority for the town of Crossfield, effective the date of her signing her contract.
All right, all in favor? Okay,
Aye.
that's carried. Okay, under Mayor and Councillor's business, mine's listed there. Mayor Harris has left, but kudos to her for the drive-in movie. Turned out really well, lots of people there. And also thank you to the fire department for watering the grounds. For August 25th, Jake, the trauma dog from Victim Services, they were already coming to the Seniors Lodge, having a meet and greet. And so I sit on that board and they asked if I wanted to have the trauma dog come here and meet everybody. It was very well received. If you don't know anything about Jake, the trauma dog, he goes to court with people and especially with kids. And so lots of times when kids have to testify in court, Jake sits right beside them and they actually testify to Jake because that gives them such a level of comfort rather than sitting in this courthouse with, all the judicial and, it's a pretty scary location for them. And it's interesting, Jake is his value, they estimate at $35,000.
Wow.
By the time they train him. It's Lions does the sponsoring, Kiwanis does the supporting of Jake. He gets trained for about 3 years before we get him, and we waited 5 years to get a dog. And so it's been a real big bonus as far as, his purpose. He was actually pretty stressed during COVID when everything was shut down because he's a working dog and not to have anything to do was a bit difficult for him. And they're going to do a bit of a pilot project in that he normally is in the Victim Services office, but they're going to have him in the main kind of bullpen area of RCMP so that if any of the officers want to visit with him during the day, they have that accessible as well. He won't be there all the time, but it'll be part-time. So staff really enjoyed meeting Jake and it was good for everybody. Marigold Library meeting, they're just about ready, probably the end of this month to move into their new building. So that's all going well and on time. And for the library board, we're interviewing for the manager position and have some new members that will likely come to the next council meeting for approval. And then myself and several of the other councillors attended the ribbon cutting at Collicut Siding Golf Club's Optimus Little Loop, which was a fun time to attend. So that's my business. Deputy Mayor Harris.
So we've been on break for a bit, so I do have a little bit. First of all, as you all know, we've hired a new CEO, so I'm proud to announce that we've hired Sue Keenan. She has multiple years of municipal experience in leadership, including HR and finance. And I believe Sue will be fair but firm and wants to be part of our growing community. Secondly, I just want to put out a thank you to the Elks for putting on an amazing event. The Elks host the Derby to raise funds for our community. Thanks to many of the volunteers, young adults and that next generation for organizing, as well as all of the other volunteers for filling up all those volunteer positions. It was a great event. It was exciting. And I think the Elks attracted a really good crowd. So I'm also excited and proud that Collicut Golf Course established the Little Optimist practice loop. Thank you to the three Optimist clubs that funded it. Let's just keep golf growing, and hopefully we can grow some lifetime golfers out of that. I also attended the Garden of Hope YVC leadership event. Thank you to the YVC through Volunteer Airdrie Leadership with Teens for giving the food bank and growing garden out at the Garden of Hope. And the food bank, Airdrie Food Bank, gives back to Crossfield community as well. Mustafa's gone, but just the downtown looks great. I love the look. It's beautiful. And just thank you to town staff and Mustafa for all of their hard work towards that. And then I went on a tour with one of our staff members, Joe Holstein, this summer. We reviewed water services, toured transfer stations and the fire department. It was a great tour. And I don't think you'll find anybody else, maybe, but anybody else that is more passionate about their job in water services than Joe. I will be attending the Chamber Golf Tournament on Friday, so I'm looking forward to that. I hope it's a good fundraiser for them. And then kudos to Cheryl Shea for excellent farmers markets throughout the year. And I'm looking forward to the food truck frenzy in downtown opening on the 13th.
Okay, Councillor Cornelison.
Not too much in August. Basically, being on the Rodeo Society, what we've been doing is spending all our free time out there, getting ready for the 45th anniversary. Still doing maintenance and repairs on the buildings and fighting off wasps while we're installing stairs on Saturday. But next year should be good for the rodeo and more events. So can I mention the other one, the one on the 24th? Wait, for she releases it.
Maybe
Yeah.
just.
Okay, just keep your eyes peeled for more events.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Councillor Gustafson.
A couple of special meetings in August there we were doing as well. We had just as of late that didn't make this the agenda was our Rocky View Foundation meeting. We are pleased that we are getting some very large donations from some groups in Airdrie on our new lodge. So we are in the works right now of getting the name for the new seniors lodge in Airdrie. So we'll quite let the out of the bag yet on that one because I don't think we're quite done. Just to ask administration to bring forward all the contracts that the town has with different properties with all the parties. To would administration be able to talk on that, or do you want me to speak? Because they, or do we even need to go down that road yet?
I
What you,
think that's on the agenda. For the leases?
uh,
Now, is it, I guess, in this section of the meeting, you know, am I able to ask administration questions on that?
pretty much general questions, yes, because if it's anything detailed, like
Yeah.
those
So,
individual.
No, it's actually general questions. It's not designed around any one of them. I'm just going to go back to my notes here.
And the reason I say that while you're looking for that is just to ensure that if there are any existing agreements, that those parties get to participate in any discussions about.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So this is very general here right now, and I can appreciate your comments there. I guess my question to administration is, how do we manage the contracts as for each property as they expire? And then my second question, and then I have one quick comment. Who can apply for the contracts as they come up? And then my one comment is, I think we just missed one on here, and is the
Curling rink?
curling
Yeah,
rink not
I
on
noticed
this?
that.
No, it
Something
shouldn't be.
else?
There's currently or the building itself.
And they have like a 99-year
That was,
agreement or.
Okay, so
Land lease.
do we know for sure that we don't own the building?
Yeah.
something I have to go back and the staff was still here.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was.
Because that
fair
was-
enough,
yeah.
but we are looking into
Yeah.
everything that even the
The
town
towns,
land, regardless of
But there's still a land lease with the curling club. Is that correct? Okay. So just something that we'd have to look at it.
Okay,
Yeah,
now,
'cause,
so I guess back to my first question, how do we manage that? Does it come to council and get approved? Or does it just stay with administration and get approved? I'll let you answer.
As far as I know, any contracts that include town land, they would come to council for approval.
Okay,
Administration does the negotiation and connects with whoever we're in agreement with, but ultimately we would bring it to council with the recommendation to accept the contract.
okay.
I have a question, if that's okay.
By all means.
When is the last time we reviewed all of these leases and contracts and made changes to them? They get renewed every time, so it's not like the same, but change the date?
No, we diarize them when they're coming due, and then when they come due, we connect with whoever we're in a lease with, and that's how we do the process. And then they come back.
And I think on that curling rink one, because I remember trying to do some research on it because we own the land, the curling club owns the building. And there was it would require a lot of digging, but I haven't retained all that information, how that came to be on,
I can speak to that.
okay, perfect.
So we look back, there was a contract signed when Bob Troma took the rink over in 2012 or 13. There's a 99-year lease signed in 1957 or 58.
Right.
That got lost and an agreement got re-signed. And then there was some talk back. Well, I think the biggest thing about the town property right there was getting looked at was at one time the curling rink had owned all that.
Mm.
And there was something that was transferred back and it's a parcel of land, I believe, that Jared Conchu was the president. The curling right now is still trying to look into because the curling was trying to figure out if they owned that parcel of land or not. But I believe from what I've learned over time was that was given back to the town in lieu of not paying taxes on that property, that building for the 99-year lease of that land.
Because I think too that there was some kind of almost like a war grant that they applied for. Gord Snyder might have some information. I think he was the one that I got some of the information from. There was some grant that I'd never ever heard of. And there was some kind of an agreement that had to be in place or was in place so they could access it. It's some very old random thing.
Oh, yeah, okay. So I guess getting back to my question, who can apply for the contract? Say like, I look at the first one here, that 5 acres on 2A. The property is leased on a month by month basis. Currently, we just, we can decide, hey, we want to rent it to somebody else, or, they get to keep it, or how does that work? I just want to, be transparent, to our public and say, hey, anybody has a chance to, rent that 180 acres that the town owns near or around the lagoon. Or, does that person, I guess it comes up in 2023, but in 2023, do they get first right of refusal?
I think that's written into the agreement.
But that's,
yeah.
Okay, but is that the right thing to be always doing?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are all of these agreements, is one agreement like I know one is monthly, month by month, but are they all 5 years or are they all 10 years? They're all kind of all over the place. Let's try to kind of where I'm getting as let's try to standardize these agreements so they're not, it's very impartial is where I'm getting at to these groups.
Well, the only one that I'll speak to is the library would be a little bit different because if you give us a 5-year lease and didn't renew it, we'd need a lot of time to.
I actually think the library is a little bit different.
Yeah, I think so.
Because the library is really, because we fund them, their operating money. That's a different agreement and different than what some of the not-for-profits that we would lease to or whatnot.
I just want to make sure that if it's included in this list, that it is dealt with somewhat differently because, they've put money into the building to get their intranet and get, the shelves and everything else. So I think it's a little bit different of an agreement. Possibly,
yeah.
So,
and you know what, you could say that's different than the golf course as well. It's more run like a business,
So I think that when it comes down to leases, rentals, or license to occupy, we really have to figure out, number one, which category do they fit in? Is it a land lease? Is it a building lease?
Yes.
And then which category? Is it a rental? Is it a lease? Is it a license to occupy? Or is it simply a service agreement?
I agree.
And there's differences throughout, and it depends on which group is leasing or renting or whatever from us on what that would look like. But I think with all of these town properties, what I would like to see is the best use and the fullest use out of those properties that we enter into an agreements with, so that maybe we don't see, like, for example, in Airdrie, we have some groups that may only use a piece of property every Sunday. So now we have 6 days of the week that it is unused property. So how do we fill those gaps and how do we make fuller use out of some of this property that could be available? So those would be some of the things I'd be looking at coming back to council. What type of lease is it?
Yeah, whatever bucket they fall into.
Right.
So.
Right. And, I'd be happy to share some information on leasing and stuff from what I've gathered through civic partnerships for the city of Airdrie and all the information I've gathered from other municipalities, if that helps.
That is helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
okay, so that information, you'll work on it and come back. Is that sufficient, Councillor?
I think so. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Councillor Knight.
I've got 2 special council meetings and then attended the 1-year anniversary of Crossfield Auto Center. Sherman had a really good turnout. They donated some money to the fire hall. I don't have a record of how much it was they donated, but I do believe they donated money because they offered hot dogs and stuff, and it was donation, so they did generate some good money for that. Councillor Guston and myself both participated in volunteering and actioning the Derby. It was incredibly put on by Mr. Brant, Salant, and Austin Carruthers were the spearheaders of that. And I attended the Collicut Grand Opening, which was quite phenomenal. And one kid almost got a hole in one on the first shot.
That's true.
Yeah.
So that would wrap up my schedule.
Okay, that's it. Okay, thank you. Administrative update.
So my report is quite lengthy just because I've given you department head updates. It's part of the agenda package. I don't know if you want me to review it or if you have any questions.
Any questions? Okay, if not, we can make a motion to accept the information.
So moved.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, that's carried. Okay, under correspondence, letter of RCMP with support, letter from Claire's Home, support to retain council code of conduct bylaws, RCMP retroactive pay from the town of Claire's Home, and a letter opposing Bill C-21, changes to the Criminal Code and Firearms Act. Anybody have any feedback on those requests? Yes.
I do. I think specifically, like regardless of council code of conduct bylaws, I think that we can always make motions for our own. So to me, I'm not sure if we need to send a letter to the province on that, but I do agree that we need to have a council code of conduct bylaw in place, regardless of what the province says. 10.3, I do believe that we should be sending a letter on this to the RCMP. I don't think that councils and towns should be responsible for retroactive pay on something that was decided arbitrarily by the RCMP.
All right, so let's make a motion that 10.1, 10.2, and 10.4 be filed for information.
I think 10.4, I also don't believe that municipalities should be making the decision on firearms.
Okay,
So I don't know if we want to make the motion on that one as well or not.
okay, your choice. We can do 10.1 and 10.2 as filed for information. Okay, somebody want to make that a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 10.3 RCMP retroactive pay. Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make the motion that we send a letter to the RCMP on behalf from council, similar to the one that Claire's Home sent.
Okay. All in favor of that motion? Okay, that's carried. Okay, 10.4.
So on 10.4, I think this legislation is not, they're pushing it down to municipalities. I don't think they should be pushing it down to municipalities. This is either provincial or most likely a federal issue.
Okay.
And I would like them to make decision on that on Bill C-21.
Okay, all in favor?
Or are we gonna have a discussion first?
Discussion,
Because I
okay,
think
yeah.
Mike,
No,
ahead.
no, it's all good.
You sure?
Positive.
Sorry?
No, it's good. I was just being an idiot. That's all. Sorry.
Okay,
I agree with Deputy Mayor Harris. This is a federal
Yeah.
issue, not even a provincial issue.
I
Yeah.
agree.
This is a federal issue.
Yeah, it's them trying to
So-
pass the buck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
absolutely.
All right, all in favor of that motion then? Okay,
Aye.
that's carried. Okay, gallery questions? No? Okay, upcoming events are listed. Motion to adjourn.